The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. Another little hump day action. Anyway, I hope everybody had a good night last night, good day yesterday. Week is off to a nice start, and the book is out. Had a bunch of people already tell me they bought it, which is super, super cool. I actually think the first copy, she gets another shout out, was purchased by Lisa Streff because she somehow got the book on Sunday night. And this is crazy. It got delivered to her yesterday. So this print-on-demand technology from Amazon is pretty legit. Man, they printed it on... She ordered it on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she ordered it on Sunday. And she got it yesterday on Tuesday. That's amazing. So they printed it and shipped it to her, and she got the paperback. So anyway, thank you, Lisa, and thank you to everybody else that ordered. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's chat some stuff. I did want to clarify something from yesterday. God, I think I was so hyped up yesterday. I was like, man, when I listened to the episode, I was like, holy mackerel. I think I was on the same stuff President Biden was on when he gave the State of the Union, whatever the heck that stuff was. Anyway, what I did want to clarify, though, is in regards to the OJ stuff in that documentary, I wasn't really drawing any parallels with now. All I'm saying is there were shit people in 2004. There are shit people in 2024. And there were shit people in probably 1004. 1004. Man, what the heck was going on in this world in 1004? 1004. Holy mackerel. It was like 1,000 years ago. Actually, 1,020 years ago. Anyway, there's bad people everywhere. And, this goes along the other thing I was saying about, I don't really think there's bad countries. I think there's bad people inside those countries who unfortunately get to be in positions of power. So, all right. Anyway, let's start off with some interesting stuff. Give this a listen.
It's pretty clear it was the covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you. And then in the New Testament, it was confirmed that all nations would be blessed through you. So you do not know about that.
I have heard that. Now that you've explained it, yes, I have heard that before.
It's now familiar. Do you consider that a serious issue? I mean, do you want Columbia University to be cursed by God of the Bible?
Definitely not.
Okay. Well, that's good.
All right, this is wild, and this is kind of the first time I'm dipping my toes in a little bit of religious discussion, but that was U.S. Congressman in the House, Rick Allen. I think he's from, I don't even know what state he's from. Hold on, let me look it up. All right, U.S. Representative Rick Allen from the state of Georgia. So that was him the other day on the Congress floor, whatever that thing is called, basically grilling the president of Columbia University. And this has to do with all the stuff going on at Columbia University, which we'll talk more about. But he basically kind of invoked the Bible and scripture and talked about, whether if Columbia wants to be cursed by God. Now, again, I fully respect and understand people's religious allegiance and views, and I really do. I absolutely have the utmost respect for anyone's beliefs, especially their personal belief system. But the question becomes, was that an appropriate line of questioning? And more importantly, is that an appropriate thought process for a United States congressman to basically have when we've got an ongoing situation? And by the way, one that the House approved an additional $26 billion as part of a $95 or $98 billion additional aid package, which I'll talk about that in a second as well. So, it's an interesting question. I mean, is that appropriate? Is that appropriate for him to have that mindset? It's totally appropriate in his personal life. Absolutely. Have whatever mindset you want in your personal life. But is that appropriate for him to have that mindset in his congressional life?
It's pretty clear it was the covenant that God made with Abraham. And that covenant was real clear. If you bless Israel, I will bless you. If you curse Israel, I will curse you.
I don't know, man. I don't know if the covenant that God made with Abraham is appropriate for the congressional floor. But I am open to your thoughts on that, so let me know. I'm actually doing some more research on this Columbia stuff because it's definitely, I mean, it's interesting for sure, but it's also, I think, the beginning of something pretty significant, actually. And again, this really goes back to what I've talked about before in terms of this young generation. And man, I mean, I honestly, and again, if somebody has a differing opinion, please hit me up because I would love to hear it. But I really think this young generation, they're calling balls and strikes. They really are. They're calling a spade, and they're calling balls and strikes. And they don't care about the history and the precedents. I'm pretty sure they probably would not put a lot of weight on God's covenant with Abraham and that deal that was struck many moons ago. They're basically just calling balls and strikes with what they are currently seeing. So the only thing I'll say today on this, and again, I am going to do more research on this and get back, is that, there are hundreds. I mean, I guess almost half of the faculty has walked out, and basically they walked out after a pro-Palestinian protesters were arrested. So they're basically saying, hey, that's not appropriate for you guys to arrest the pro-Palestinian protesters just because they're protesting. And you've got half, if not more, of the faculty that are part of that. And so again, I think the thing you have to try and be somewhat aware of is, you're talking about a significant group of students and now a significant group of faculty who are all seeing something a certain way. And that really is through the lens of, humanitarianism. And, they're basically staking their careers and their tenure and their everything on the fact that, in their eyes, this is, again, it's a human rights issue. I really, this is like just, again, rising 30,000 feet in the air and looking down. I really have a hard time believing that tenured faculty whom are, you have to consider them intelligentsia and smart people. I seriously have a hard time that all of the sudden they're like pro-terrorism, pro-Hamas, pro-whatever that narrative is. I just don't see that. And I don't see that for any rational person. I mean, myself included. I'm not pro-terrorism. I'm not pro-Hamas. I'm not pro any of that stuff. I think Hamas is a scam. I really do. I still honestly believe that. I think it is. I'd love to take those hoods and those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles masks off those people and find out who they really are. I genuinely don't think that organization is what it is being positioned as. And so I can't imagine these professors are like, oh yeah, let's jump on board with those guys. So it's not about those guys, And so again, this goes to what I was talking about I think in Friday's episode, where, the arguments are about the wrong things, but they're about the wrong things on purpose because people are making them about the wrong things. On the pro-Israeli side, again, to call a spade, they don't want to look at this as a humanitarian situation or a humanitarian issue. And then on the, pro-Palestinian side, that's all they want to that's all they want to look at it at. Now, what's the truth? It's definitely somewhere in the middle, probably leans more to the, significantly, I think, leans more to the Palestinian side on the humanitarian stuff. Again, remember, like on the humanitarian stuff, let's for a second remove all the right to defend yourself and all that stuff. Let's put that on pause for a second and let's just look at death numbers. And again, whomever's numbers you want to believe, they're seemingly pretty accurate based on the gruesome videos that are everywhere. And it's basically the 1,200 that died on October 7th. God rest all their souls. That was 1,200 too many. And then now we're approaching 35,000 on the Palestinian side. So anyway, that whole thing, it's a mess. I'm going to dig into it a little more and again, try to bring some common sense to it. But again, it's a mess. But I will tell you, it has led to, a significant issue right now. And this religious civil war, it's percolating. It's really percolating. All right, shifting topics. So I think most of you probably saw, but man, another guy set himself on fire last week, and this was at the outside of the Trump case in New York City, and he passed away from his injuries. Oh my God, can you imagine? Oh God, I slightly burned my index finger the other day, and I mean, to where it wasn't even a mark on it, and I was such a sissy about it. I was in so much pain. I iced it for like 20 minutes. And again, that was like nothing. That was like on the tea kettle that I burned. I didn't even burn it. I don't even think it was considered a burn. And I was such a wuss bag. I can't even imagine the pain that these two guys had when they set himself on fire. But I will tell you, this guy, a little bit different than Aaron Bushnell, who was the airman that set himself on fire in terms of protesting the Palestine stuff. This guy's name is Max Azzarello, and he's being portrayed as total conspiracy theorist, total crazy guy. But I will tell you, and again, I mean, God, I can't believe he did that. So maybe he is crazy to set himself on fire, or I don't know. You can judge that one for yourself. But I will tell you what this guy was talking about. I mean, this is a different ballgame. Let me read you what was written. And again, I mean, this is assuming that this manifesto was really his writing, but he basically wrote, "This extreme act of protest is to draw attention to an urgent and important discovery. We are victims of a totalitarian con, and our own government, along with many of their allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. We are victims of a totalitarian con by our own government that's about to change our lives forever. These claims may sound fantastical, like a fantastical conspiracy theory, but they are not, and they are proof of the conspiracy. If you investigate the mountain of research, you will prove them too. If you learn a great deal about the Ponzi scheme that's taking place, you'll discover that life over the past 5 years has been one big life of a lie." Anyway, that's kind of interesting. I mean, It definitely is. And obviously, gosh, on a personal level, I mean, I definitely have had a different perspective since March of 2020. I mean, that's what led to writing the book. Hey, by the way, I did get some questions. No, the book is very, very, very minimal amount of politics, by the way. I'll actually read you the chapter of contents here in a second, because I did get a bunch of questions. They're like, hey, what do you talk about? Is it basically a extension of the podcast, or is it something different? And no, it's totally different. Now, the impetus for the book, and quite frankly, the impetus for this podcast and the impetus for my way of thinking, was the events that took place starting March of 2020, but the book for sure definitely does not focus on that. And I'll read the table of contents at the end. But anyway, so this guy, Max Azzarello, I mean, again, may he rest in peace. Man, I just feel like these guys need to find a better way to try and bring light to whatever it is they're trying to bring light to, because again, unfortunately, 2 days later, they're completely forgotten, same as Aaron Bushnell was, and they're gone, and they're not able to make any more contributions, and, people have just moved on, just like they did with him. All right, shifting gears. So remember many, many episodes ago, this was like during the whole Matt Gaetz, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker impeachment and all that, we talked about continuing resolution and these big omnibus spending packages. And I think I even brought this one up months ago saying, wait a second, what the heck? Another $100 billion? Well, that spending package was passed by the House. It's a $95 billion foreign aid package. And the way they got it through was supposedly pretty shady, the way Speaker Mike Big Johnson did. I have to look that up and try to understand that a little bit better. But basically, the legislation ties together 4 bills that the House voted on separately in a rare Saturday morning session, providing nearly $61 billion in aid to Ukraine, over $26 billion for Israel, and more than $8 billion for the Indo-Pacific. So Indo-Pacific is Taiwan. The first 3 bills are very similar to the package that the Senate passed earlier this year, which House Speaker Mike Johnson originally refused to bring to the floor. So basically, those 3 have basically been in the mix for a while. Then they added a 4th bill. Now check this out. This is interesting. And this is from CNN Politics. The 4th bill increases sanctions on Russian assets and contains language that could lead to a ban on TikTok in the United States. It gives Chinese parent company ByteDance roughly 9 months to sell TikTok, or the app will be banned from American app stores. So we've talked about that as well. But again, I mean, look at how they're doing it. They're kind of separating the 4 bills into 4 specific ones. And the reason they did that, from what I understand, is, so this is interesting. The Democrats are all in favor of funding Ukraine, and they want to fund Ukraine. And the Republicans don't, they're kind of split. They're not necessarily all on board on the Ukraine funding, right? On Israel, the Republicans are all on board on that, like 100% of them. And then the Democrats are not all on board on the Israel spending. So they split those up in order to be able to get a majority in the House on each one independently, because they were not able to get a majority on the 2 of them collectively. That's pretty crafty. And then the other thing about this, which is interesting, is when I read through the recap of the bill, it says nearly $48 billion of the $61 billion total for the Ukrainian aid bill would actually go to the U.S. Defense Department to provide weapons and supplies to it would go to the U.S. Defense Department to provide weapons and supplies for Ukraine's military, to replenish stockpiles of weapons and other equipment sent to Ukraine, and to bolster U.S. Armed Forces European command operations. So it looks like it's going to the Defense Department first, and then they dole it out. And then here's the second interesting part of that. It says the 26 or 27 billion Israel aid bill would direct 13 billion to the U.S. Defense Department to provide that country with funding for the Iron Dome, David's Sling and Iron Beam defense systems. I don't know what that is. I know what the Iron Dome is. It's the one that seems to work when it wants to work and not work when it doesn't want to work. I don't know what this David's Sling and Iron Beam. But anyway, interesting that half of, if not more of that funding seems to be going to our Defense Department first, and then the Defense Department doles it out to the respective countries. Anyway, more to come on that. There was some more tomfoolery on that, which I'll try and get a clear handle on and let you know. But again, this is that omnibus spending bills that we talked about, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, and they finally get passed. So anyway, all right, moving on. One interesting health thing to talk about, and this is a suggestion I have for you. If you want to understand how well your digestive system is working, eat some beets. So go buy some beets, 1 or 2 beets from the grocery store, or if you want, even buy a $1.20 can of beets, canned beets, and eat the beets, drink the beet juice if you can. Actually, beet juice is pretty good. Eat the beets, drink the beet juice, and see how long it takes for you to see a purple reddish tint in your number 1. And then when you go number 2, the next time you go, you should be seeing pretty much purple rain coming down. Rest in peace, Prince. You should be seeing purple rain. If you're not, then your digestive system is backed up. It really is, because those beets have not worked their way through the system. So it'll be interesting to see how long it takes for you to see purple rain, and that is how you know sort of how long it's taking for you to digest food. So try that. Try the beets. All right, so here's the table of contents for the book for those that asked. There's a dedication on page 4, and then chapter 1, life. Chapter 2, me. Chapter 3, you. Chapter 4, go deep. Chapter 5, stay shallow. Chapter 6, dive in. Chapter 7, DSD into politics. That's the only politics one, and that's only 12 pages. Chapter 8, DSD into personal relationships. Chapter 9, DSD into social issues. Chapter 10, DSD into family life. Chapter 11, DSD into health and wellness. Chapter 12, DSD into you. That's it. See? Not really politically focused, but anyway, I think you'll enjoy it. All right, call a spade, and we'll talk to you soon.
The ending was terrific.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive into You, available now on Amazon in hardcover, paperback, as well as via Kindle. Pick up your copy today of Deep Shallow Dive into You, a guide to having a more authentic relationship with yourself. Turns out it is indeed true. Bro wrote a book.